Hi, my name is Rabbi Noah Chertkoff, and I'm the Associate Rabbi at Congregation Shalom. And this past weekend, I spent some time in Baltimore with my wife's family. Now, going to Baltimore always gets me thinking about one of my favorite movies, Avalon. And for those of you who haven't seen it, or for those of you who need to be reminded, Avalon is the story of Sam Krasinski, a Jewish immigrant who arrives in Baltimore just in time for the 4th of July fireworks. And the movie revolves around his life and family, and the central theme is about passing on the stories of one generation to the next. Though they may be at times embellished or even get some facts wrong, the movie reveals the incredible delight in the telling of stories, as well as listening to the stories of family. And on a personal note, this movie is very special to me because my wife is actually an extra in it. I've always been fascinated by people's stories, the way they tell them, their points of view, and how they view the world. Even the most unbelievable stories contain great truth. Which is why it's so meaningful that this week's Torah portion is the double portion, Matot, Masay. In the second portion, Masay, we find the Israelites led by Moses, standing poised to enter the Promised Land. We are completing the story of Moses, but before Moses dies, he passes on his wisdom and authority to Joshua, who represents the next generation. What Moses is in fact doing is creating a new beginning from his ending. He is passing his story and the story of the generations before him to the next generation, and on, so that they too can benefit from the wisdom and teachings that were gained through experiences. In Numbers chapter 33, verse 1, it reads, "These are the stages of the children of Israel, by which they went forth out of the land of Egypt, by their hosts under the hand of Moses and Aaron." This verse, and the summarizing that follows, raises some interesting questions. Namely, it would be seemingly redundant to repeat or summarize the experiences of the Israelites as they neared the end of one journey and were about to begin another. After all, what generation is closer to the events that had transpired over 40 years of wandering than the ones who are recipients of this retelling? But our rabbinic commentators were sensitive to the importance of telling and retelling our stories. Rashi comments on this, stating, "It may be compared to the case of a king whose son was ill, and whom he took to a distant place to cure him. When they returned home, the father began to enumerate all the stages of the journey, saying, 'Here we slept, here you caught a cold, here you had a headache,' and so on and so forth." Now, Rashi uses this parable for many reasons, some of them corresponding with the experiences of the Israelites from their 40 years of wandering, but there is a more basic and essential reason to retell the story. It's so that we learn and relearn the importance of our shared history and experiences. And through that learning, we will understand our present. In this way, we will never forget where we came from. In the movie Avalon, the most beautiful moment occurs in the end. The grandfather, the storyteller, has become too old to tell his story to a new generation. His grandson, after visiting this man who he loved, walks out with his own son and tells his grandfather's story, just as he had heard it so many times before. He was faithful to his grandfather's memory and guaranteed that wisdom would be passed on from one generation to the next. This is how we honor our past and begin a new journey as well. We live in a connected world. We are more connected to each other than ever before through the internet, cell phones. We can Skype and speak to each other from any place on earth. We are bound to each other over space, but are we bound to each other over time? It is a pity that in a world that is so connected, it is a common phenomenon that people don't share their stories with those who are closest to them. So we must learn the lessons of our Torah and renew our commitment to telling each other our stories, so that our wisdom and life will echo through the eternity of our loved ones. At the end of the reading of this portion, as at the end of all books of Torah, we recite special words in Hebrew, translated as, be strong, and may we be strengthened." Take some time to strengthen each other. Share your stories. Share the stories of your parents or your parents' parents. Teach your families about your values and hopes and dreams. When we share our stories, we leave a legacy, one that will strengthen us all. Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek.